it takes two to have kids, and it takes two to raise kids.
Okay.
Stop getting in your feelings.
Hello, welcome to the Uncoupled Couple Podcast, which is about two baby mamas navigating a unique co-parenting journey.
Closely connected and sharing our experiences. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Elle, and welcome to the Uncoupled Couple.
The Uncoupled Couple. Yes, you're going to learn more about that eventually.
Hello, and welcome to the Uncoupled Couple, a podcast about two baby mamas navigating a unique co-parenting journey.
Closely connected and sharing our experiences. I'm one of your hosts, Elle.
And I'm Nikki. And today we are going to be talking about overcoming initial tensions and challenges. So, that's probably going to be one of this episode. Like I said, we have our talking points, but, we just keep it real and we talk about our experiences and things that, we've, had other people share their experiences with us. Like we said earlier, we're going to have some special guests, come on to share their experience and their background because, obviously, me and Elle and our experience and that, it's been a very positive experience for us, but that has not been the case for everybody, as well as, me and Elle get along well, but, my first husband, he had his baby mama, her and our relationship is great now, but it didn't start off that way. So we're going to talk about all of those different things. Also, real quick, you might be thinking like, oh, it looks like they have on the same clothes. We do. So we got us some shirts, sweatshirts.
My
Couple.
Hey guys, hold on, my earphones.
Look, I didn't even got mine in. Look,
we're gonna get it together.
We're gonna get it together.
But yeah, these are shirts.
But yeah.
Hey, who did our shirts?
So the Incredible Tees, good guy named Harold Dorsey. Shout out to him. He made our sweatshirts. So yeah, the Uncoupled Couple.
Also, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe on all platforms.
Yes, the Uncoupled Couple on everything except TikTok. On TikTok, we are at the real Uncoupled Couple. So the Uncoupled Couple on everything except TikTok, we are the real Uncoupled Couple. But yeah, so yeah, if you like our sweatshirts, we don't know, we might open it up for other people to get some merch, so y'all can tell us what y'all think. We'll see. Absolutely. So yeah, so like I say, today we're going to be talking about overcoming tensions and challenges. So the most common challenge, I think, with co-parenting is trying to basically take your feelings out of it, right? Because when you have two people that were at one point, obviously, in love, or maybe not in love, but whatever that looks like when you guys came together to have a child together, right? Obviously, at this point, that's no longer happening. And we have someone going this way, another person going that way. And, your lives are doing this, right? But you have to figure out how to make it do that for the child, right? So I think that's really the biggest challenge, is just trying to get on one page and stay on the same page when, you obviously at some point determined that in life, you guys couldn't stay on the same page, right? But in this particular area, you have to figure out a way to stay on the same page, right? Because again, it's all about the kids. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges. What else do you think is really common challenge for people trying to navigate, this co-parenting space?
Well, navigating schedules. And I'll use this example. Say if dad's dating someone else, mom's dating someone else, mom wants to go out on a Saturday night, dad already had a date or whatever. Those are things you may want to talk about, because especially if you all have a good relationship, you may say, hey, me and Bob, we want to go out or we plan on going out, so you may want to make it like if you're dating Bob, you may say, well, Bob, let me get with my child's dad to see if he's open to keep him on this date or her or whatever, to navigate that. Another thing, if you get it, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. So the years until from the age of when Isaiah was 4 up until he was 16, he never saw a man in my house, never saw who I dated, anyone like that. The last one he did, but after then he didn't. So those are things you're going to want to navigate. If women, you want your boo to come over and this and that, and, you say, hey, well, my son's going to be there, especially if you're not at that point where he's going to be there and you don't want your son to meet him yet. Or even if he has met him and your son or daughter only sees your mate when they're at the house sitting on the couch and all of you are together. But, you may want to have some times like me coming over and it's good if you can have a relationship where I could say, hey, James, can you keep Isaiah this time? No, that's not on the schedule, but I'll just say Bob to come over for the weekend. To be able to have that conversation and your son's father and mother don't be like, oh, what you mean he coming up? Like, yeah, I got him, so y'all can spend some time together.
Absolutely. And that can be tricky for some people, especially when you still feeling the other person and you thinking like, oh, he moving on. Yeah. She moving on, he moving on. Like that's life. It's gonna keep moving. And you want to be able to have those conversations because my husband and I are married and I'm back in that realm, in that space. Like all of me and Elle's kids are grown, but now I have a new bonus baby, right? So my husband, he has our older children are the exact same age. So we both have 24-year-olds and we both have 21-year-olds, but he also has a 6-year-old. So that's a space that's needing to be navigated. And so, that's started off rocky. It's been smoothing out here lately. So yeah, things are smoothing out here lately. But it's like we have a set schedule where we get my extra son, and he is there. But his mom is currently not dating. But once she does begin to date, just those conversations that her and my husband have already had, she's gonna be on top of that. Like, and her baby is her only child. And she's going to be on top of that with whomever she dates. Like, hey, my son's dad is very active in his life. He does this, he does that, blah, blah, blah. Like, case in point, like, whenever Vaughn has basketball, soccer, any practices, they're not on my husband's days, but he takes his son to every single one of his practices. He was like, as dad, that's something that I'm going to do. And, so mom was like, oh, okay, fine. And she doesn't worry about that. So he takes him to his practice and he'll drop his son off after the practice, and it could be met with apprehension by some. And these are the conversations you need to have with the person that you're going to be dating.
Yeah, but that's one thing that's off mom's plate.
It is. And that's that support. Yeah. And I think those things go away like when we want to do things, because again, like she said, if Bob want to take you out and it's not your scheduled day, you know what I'm saying? You have to build those relationships and support each other, and it's give and take, because when you want to do something that may not necessarily land on your scheduled time, you want to be able to have those conversations and it be okay. Case in point, we have done a lot of swaps for weekends, and we'd be like, hey, we want to do such and such on this weekend. Can't we swap?
We sure have.
And we definitely have, but I'm talking about, my baby boy, his mom. We'll be like, hey, we want to do this on such and such weekend. She's like, yeah, that's cool. She's like, actually, I wanted to do something on such and such day. Can, you get them that day and I'll get them this day. And we like,
You're very
Absolutely.
experienced at that.
Absolutely. So you got to be able to have those conversations and have that avenue. So I think it's just really important, because a lot of times when you get to date, and especially young folk, you're like, oh, he's so fine, and you like, dang, she bad, and you ain't thinking about all of these different things that come along with it. Be like, you got any kids? Yeah, I got a little shorty, and y'all be just leaving it at that. It's so much more than that. When you talk about bringing somebody in the picture, when you have kids involved, it's a big deal. It's a huge deal, and you gotta know who people are and what they really about when you're talking about bringing them around your children, right? Because it's our job as the grown-ups to protect our kids. And you just bringing any and everybody around, it's just not cool. And I'm gonna talk to the young ladies on this right quick. Because again, unfortunately, a lot of times, as young moms, we get stuck with. I was a single mama out here, and I didn't have no support. Baby daddy wasn't in the picture. He wasn't, and thankful. I'm blessed that And again, I told you, my first husband and I got married when I was 19. He was 20. We was young. You know what I'm saying? So he had to figure some stuff out. Um, we co-parent excellently now. Our son is in college, and he's dealing with some health struggles right now, and we'll talk about that on a different episode. But my ex-husband has shown up um, and making sure doctor's appointments and therapy and everything, and he's just been amazing. But it wasn't like that when we was young, basically still kids ourselves, right? But he has, did a complete 180, and he shows up to make sure he's there. Because let's be clear, our son's 21, but being a parent don't never stop.
Never.
Um, Not when they 30, not when they 50.
It's good when you can grow with
Absolutely.
growth, and we've grown. And you should grow. You shouldn't be 50 years old and still on the same stuff you was on when you were 20.
Absolutely.
And the same thing with relationships and parenting. And then you all gonna have grandbabies, so that child gonna say, well, I got 2 grannies and 2 granddaddies. That's right. How kids look at it.
Love it. They look more Christmas gifts.
Exactly. So because we got grandbabies. We'll have grandbabies one day. Lord don't know when, but
maybe right.
We were talking about that earlier.
Right. But what I was saying to say, the point I was getting to is women, a lot of times, we get left holding the bag. And I said what I said just because I wanted to let it be known that he's an excellent father and co-parenting now. But what I was saying was a lot of times moms end up being the custodial parent, and sometimes without help. And I know you want to have a life, and I know you want to date, and I know you want to do all those things, but we have to take accountability and understand that we have those kids, and we may not be able to move like we need to move. And I say this with love, little sisters, quit bringing all these dudes around your kids. Quit, like I say, I ain't trying to go off on the women and this and that, because dads, quit bringing all these chicks around your kids too. But I'm just speaking to moms, because a lot of times the dads do get to move about and move how they want to move, and we end up being a custodial parent, and we like, it ain't fair, and we carrying the load, and it ain't fair. But again, moms, little sis, I'm guilty of it too. So I'm just not talking at you. You know what I'm saying? I live this life. I was that person. And one, we need to be more responsible about who we laying down with, because let's keep it a buck. You wouldn't have a deadbeat dad if you ain't sleep with a deadbeat dude. I'm gonna just keep it 100.
Yeah, we got it.
I just gotta keep it 100.
We gotta take
we gotta take that accountability and that responsibility, because we want to go having these kids, and then we want to talk greasy about them. But baby, you picked them.
Yeah, I worked in child support. I was in the program, and the guys would be fussing and complaining. And one guy on my team, he said, "But you picked her." This and that. And I'll tell that sis, you picked him.
And sir, you picked her.
Or and you can say, yeah, you picked him.
And then I'm about everybody having, choice, you know what I'm saying? And please understand, and it's very controversial, but I'm gonna say it. Women, stop having babies with men that then told you straight up that they don't want no baby with you. You take that how you want. You should prevent whatever you need to do on the front end from never having.
If he ain't trying to prevent it, he claimed he don't want these babies, but he's not wrapping it up. You're not wrapping it up. Like, okay, so, and here we go. This can go down a rabbit hole because some people say, well, why you with him anyway? You trying to be with a man you ain't married with? That's a whole different topic. But if you're going to be with a man you're not married to or plans on having babies with, again, if he's telling you, I don't want any kids, then, and brother, you can't go to her. You can't go to. We going to a whole different topic. But since we're here,
we're gonna get back to on topic. But
since you're here,
yeah.
If brother says he doesn't want to have sex, brother, not have sex. If you telling her you don't want no kids, what are you doing not to have kids? Don't put it all on that woman.
It's everything is orchestrated this way. It takes two for everything.
I'm talking to myself too.
Yeah.
If I was that age and can have babies.
It takes two to have a kid. It takes two to raise kids.
Yeah. Say that again.
It takes two to have kids, and it takes two to raise kids. Okay. Stop getting in your feelings and keeping mom from seeing the kid or dad from seeing the kid, because
guys got the kids too. Yes. A lot of single dads.
It is some single dads, some awesome single dads. I'm gonna have a single dad on here too. He's gonna be one of our hosts. I've already talked to him. Excellent stand-up guy, and he's gonna share his story about raising his daughter. And he has a daughter he's raising on his own. So yeah, like I said, we got a lot of things in store for you guys. But yeah, we gotta be more. And again, a lot of this, we have these struggles because of who we chose.
Right. And again, dropping no fade, because this is for us also.
And I ain't talking about it, and again, I'm happy that the growth has happened and things like that. But going back then, I shouldn't have picked him. You know what I'm saying? Because I was left sitting there with a kid by myself. And I mean, like I said, I'll have him on. And, he's going to, we've talked about it and everything. And he's like, I'm going to be candid. I wasn't doing what I needed to do in those earlier years. He was like, but the fact that of the matter is, and that's another thing. I don't know if he even recognizes or how he, thinks about it, but I never blocked him, because a lot of times we will hold animosity about, things and, be upset, because again, he wasn't around in those earlier years. Unfortunately, he got his stuff together before my son was too old, because I told him, I was like, hey, he's going to start getting older, and he's going to realize when you say, oh, I'm going to see you next week, that it actually was a month, that you know what I'm saying?
And then your child will stop believing in you. They're not going to have faith and confidence.
Yeah.
Say, yeah.
And I'm glad that he got it together before that happened.
Daddy said it all the time. Mama said it all the time. I believe it when I see it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm glad he got it together before that happened. Mm-hmm. But, those are the things you have to think about, when you, quote unquote, just out here having fun, right? And so I never harbored that animosity. So when he did get it together and wanted to come back around, I didn't block him from seeing his son, because not just sons, daughters need their daddies too. Kids need both parents, just point blank period. And I didn't want to be, I was like, I could take my hurt feelings and my animosity, like, oh, it wasn't fair. You was out here doing whatever, woo, 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 and I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. I could have took all that and been like, nah, you can't come see him now. We've been doing fine all this time. And that would have ended up on the back end blowing up in my face, because at some point, my son would get old enough to be able to communicate with his dad without me. And then he would have those conversations with his dad, like, hey, why didn't you come see me? And what the first thing he was going to say was be like, your mama kept me from you. And all that was going to do would ruin my relationship with my son. And then my son would resent me and have hurt feelings towards me.
And it will happen.
And if you
Because
quote
kids are going to
unquote
get
love your
older.
child, why would you do anything to hurt them? Because at the end of the day, regardless of how you feel about that man or that woman, keeping that child away from their parent is hurting your child.
And they will be, a lot of times, will be angry. Mama, how could you do this to me? I missed all of these years with being with my dad because
Years you can't get
kept him
back.
away. And I've seen it happen. Mamas, daddies who do that, is not going to be pretty.
Mm-mm. And that kind of goes into our next point is, you know, jealousy or insecurities, and again, and that's one of the, like I said, being jealous that, especially for the custodial parents. So I just want to say moms. I'm a mom and I was, so I can speak from my experience, but just from any custodial parent, having that, feeling of jealousy or insecurity because, that, my ex-husband didn't, but he could have went off to school. He could have did this, did that, whatever, because I was the one that was at home and had to make those changes and figure out day to day, you know, who was going to keep, our son so that I could, go to school, go to work, do this, do that, so I definitely can understand how that those feelings can be there because I had them, but I knew I was fortunately able to focus on the bigger picture and not let that overshadow what was best for my kids. And so did you ever have any jealousy or insecurity? I know we kind of
I
talked about the insecurity and you
not
felt away.
toward like you, but I'm recalling it one time I was working part-time, and I'll be transparent, and I needed James to be there to babysit. So sometimes I have my aunt would babysit Isaiah.
Well, Jane
And
doesn't babysit. That's parenting.
parent, you know what? Thank you. And he checked me on that one time. He said, I'm not a babysitter. This is my son. I'm not a babysitter.
Mhm.
So thank you. You're right. That's parenting. And one time he wasn't available, and I felt some kind of way like, well, I'm trying to do this and yada, yada. You should be able to keep them,
Mm.
So that I don't, what I call it, jealousy. I don't know what word you would use to describe that, but I felt some kind of way at that point because I've always been a hustler. I'm gonna work 2-3 jobs, do what I had to do. At that point, I kind of felt that he wasn't there.
Gotcha.
But other than that, never felt anything like if he dated anyone else. And again, because my feelings were different, so I didn't have that issue. But that is the only time when that would come up.
Gotcha.
When I felt I wanted to son. And thank you for saying it's parenting, not babysitting, because my son's father, James, would say, I'm not a babysitter. I'm his dad. So,
right.
yeah,
I'm
thank
your dad,
you.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, for me, definitely had those feelings, and not only towards, you know, my, ex, but my friends. I was jealous of the lives that they got to live. They got to go away to school. Like I think for high school, I think spring break they went to like Miami Beach or Fort Lauderdale, something like that. Spring break trip my senior year. I was pregnant.
I remember one time you said to me, you said, well, you got to do everything. And da-da-da-da. I said, yeah, but your time is coming because when you're doing everything, then I'm going to be raising this one, and yeah, because I said, your time is coming. I said, it's just flip. And I think I said,
I get my time on the
we
back
have our
end.
babies when we supposed to have our babies. Now she all over the globe.
Yes, I love traveling. And I get to make those types of moves. And I have friends now that have toddlers, and they don't get to travel like I can travel and go out and do things. And like me and my husband, we'll go out, on a Thursday night,
and that's your story,
and to have a drink or whatever. But you can't leave a toddler in the house, when you're doing that. But because we do have a 6-year-old, but he go, we split the time. His mom has him, so when we don't have him, we have that the ability. But I have friends, they married and they just starting their family, so they can't go out because mama and daddy at the house. So,
and grandparents may be like, nah, we can't babysit. We can't keep the kids tonight.
Right.
Keep the baby
and again, it's a weeknight. They got school and stuff. You're not trying to drop them off nowhere else and do all those things and so on and so forth. So it is. And then like even, with it, like I say, it's just a lot, and then trying to get, your parents or your significant other's parents to come over to you, it's just a lot of moving parts. So, you do, but again, at, 19, 20, 21, I didn't view it, that's 18, 17, 18 years away when they're going to be older.
Yeah, you was thrown in a whole different thing. I was off at college kicking it and not thinking about babies.
They got to go to way to school.
Well, I was thinking about babies because I had, I wanted to.
You had the plan, kids. Right? But yeah, life, everything happens for a reason and how it's supposed to. But
hold on, guys, we keeping it real.
So everything happens for a reason, and life happens how it's supposed to. And I'm thankful for my experiences and having my kids, younger. Because again, I'm able to do all of these things and travel and so on and so forth now in these years that I'm, pretty much still young, right? And, I'm grateful for it. But back then, I was jealous of my friends and that they got to go off to school and do all of these things and live their lives and go out and kick it and party. And, I necessarily, didn't get to do that. I could go out here and there, but, it would be when my mom was like, willing to babysit, right? Or my sister was willing to babysit. My older sister, she had 3 kids of her own. And then my younger sister, she was a teenager living her life, so she wasn't always trying to be locked up, with no kids neither, you know what I'm saying? So, and being a responsible, once you have a kid, hey, your life is not only yours anymore. You have to share that with this little person. So, now you have to manage that and navigate that, and you get time for yourself when you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Get it in where you can get it in.
Yeah, so I dealt with those emotions, like I said, but your kids didn't choose to be here. And once you have kids, it's your responsibility to provide the best life for them that you possibly can. However that looks, right?
And your kids are your why. Isaiah was always my why and my push to do what I did. Sometimes I'll sit back and I almost will be in tears thinking about some of the things I went through. And I didn't share a lot of stuff with my family. Because, my family, I could go to my dad and ask for this. My aunt, I remember one time I was not working and waiting for Steph to come through. She said, you better not be over there not having no food and I'm eating. I'm like, oh, that's not going to happen. I said, we got food, but she was concerned in being a single her mother herself. And she knows, she said, I know out of my nieces and nephews, you the one that's not going to ask for anything. I don't. It takes a lot for me to ask for help. Mm-hmm. So I think I got off track. But I'm just thinking back about the times when it got hard. I was when he was a baby. And I look back, I was like, man, but I did that. I'm getting off track. I'm sorry.
Not really, because we're talking about challenges.
Yeah, that challenging. Yeah, see, I needed you when Isaiah was a baby.
Isaiah was a fat little chunky baby. He like a baby Buddha.
He did. He looked
I remember the picture. I was just been eating them cheeks.
James used to say,
and I think that's why you love Elijah so much, because he just a little chunky little thing.
Even though we struggled with that potty train.
Oh my goodness.
You did it though.
We did. Yeah. He'll be mad you said. So
I'm sorry, Elijah. He like, Mama.
He like, really? You gonna tell people?
Really?
I had trouble with potty training. We telling people straight. Y'all, Y'all never heard that.
Y'all didn't hear that. We gonna edit that out. Nope.
But yeah. So and yeah, so I did have those, but fortunately, I think I did pretty good managing it.
I think you did good. You have. I'm so proud of Nikki. She has come a long way. Not that she was not doing well. She was, but I'm just saying the growth and the elevation that you're doing, and just the woman you have become.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We should always. Oh, thank you. You the bomb too. I think we should just always be growing and learning and just trying to be and do better. So yeah,
she's my push because if we waited on me to do this, we wouldn't be where we're at. I'ma just keep, because I'm doing 8 million things, and I'm not the best with time management. I'm really I said I'm gonna stop saying it, but I'm really working on that. But this was, she like, look, okay, we gonna do this. Okay, we gonna make a schedule. We could so yeah, that again, this is my saving grace on a bunch of stuff. Traveling. Look, we gonna do this. We got yeah, you going. She just because if it wasn't, I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Just like with me making her breakfast. No, you're not gonna have to cook and bring it over. I'm gonna cook. That's another thing. But yeah, she is she helps me with so many things, even other than parenting. You know.
I mean, we legit, and I mean, even if you can just be cordial and do what you need to do, that's cool. But my hope and my prayer is that you can have a sister like that, or if it's, a brother like that, like whatever that looks like, because she is truly my friend.
Yeah, and
truly my sister.
Everybody not gonna be buddy. Like, so if you're cordial and say, hey, this is for the kids, that's great too. Yeah. We just happen to be blessed where we, grew close.
Absolutely. So it's like I say, it's just important that you keep, it's all about the kids in the forefront of your mind, because it's not always easy when, if the other parent is just not where you are or not doing what you need them to do. But, you can't, throwing gasoline on the fire is not going to put it out, right? It's just going to make the fire bigger. So you just have to push forward and make sure that, you're doing what you need to do.
And you're going to hear us say that a lot. It's all about the kids. Even though our kids are grown, with the exception of one, you're going to hear it's all about the kids.
Absolutely.
Because it is.
So, miscommunication. I don't think that we really, us particularly, struggle with that, because you and I, we always had great communication, and we always kind of dealt with each other. We
would deal with stuff, and James would be, after they were divorced, we still communicated. We did a lot of stuff and didn't even call him. Not saying that, in basic things like, okay, so you need to pick the kids up. I'm picking up. We're gonna be halfway.
Well, let's back that up. Because when me and James were getting divorced, of course, again, we a family. We doing this. We raising the kids together. Everything, obviously, me and Elle had to have a conversation. I was like, hey, this ain't gonna work.
I was not happy.
This is not. I can't do it no more. I gotta move on. So Elle was like, oh Lord, what I'm gonna do? What about Isaiah and this and that? I was like, stop, hold on. We're gonna do what we've been doing. I was like,
she did.
We gonna keep.
Ain't nothing changed.
Ain't nothing changed.
Because when I was gonna move to Webster Grove, I said, well, I'm gonna move to Webster Groves because I didn't want him in North County schools.
And I was like,
she said, we're not doing that.
I was like, these kids been together since they was in the 3rd grade, and they were juniors in high school. Like, where they do that at?
She shut that down like real quick.
I was like, Isaiah live here. He gonna keep living here. I was like,
exact word.
I said, when I move to a new place, I'll make sure Isaiah has space there.
And she did.
I'm gonna keep enrolling him in school, and we gonna get over this finish line. And we did just that. She would bring him and drop him off, on her weeks like she did, like she always did. And,
and some weeks he wouldn't even, I was like, you come home? No, I'm staying here.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. It got to the point like,
and
he just
at that
back and
point, I
forth.
think I had got Jay a car, and they ride to school
Yeah.
together. But
That was funny.
yeah, we got them over that finish line, and they both graduated with their high school diplomas from O'Fallon
That was the
Township High
thing.
School.
We're gonna get these boys graduated.
Right. I was
Yeah.
like, we ain't about to do nothing different.
Yeah.
I was like, also, divorce is, it takes a toll on children also. And they were going to have one, that was already a big enough change in their life, right? Their dad not going to be living with them anymore, and changing that, because me and James were together 10 years, And again, like I said, when we got together, Jay and Isaiah were 5 going on 6. And, now we're talking age 17 years old, 16 and 17, 16, 17 years old. So the last decade of their lives, they've been together. And then, like I said, Isaiah came to live with us when he was like around 8.
He's 8.
So,
to be exact.
so at this point, he had been living with us for 8 years. He had, a room at his mom's house, but even though they did the week thing, a lot of times with school, Isaiah would just stay at our house. So, he had been
got
living
to the point like whatever you want to do.
Right. So he had been living with us for the last 8 years. So
he had his own room there.
And I was like, I love Isaiah. That's my son. I don't, excuse my friend, I don't give a fuck what James got going on. That's my child. I'm not gonna put my child out. He's not gonna go nowhere.
And we kept it moving, because in some situations you may have, we've broken up, they've broken up, so you got to go with mama or daddy. And I know other situations with other people where if they was with the dad, their daughter's son would still be with their stepdad or bonus dad or whatever. It's like, nah, I'm staying here. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it work, and the mama would be like, okay, when they had a good relationship.
Right. And my love for my kids, it was not conditional.
Nikki will fight for her kids. Literally.
I don't play about mine.
She does not.
And when I say mine, I'm talking about all.
And I guess that's what we can talk about. That should have came up under parenting style.
What? I mean, I think all parents should fight for their kids.
Yeah, and I mean this in a good way. Nikki, I have a little more patience. Nikki's like, I ain't got time for that. And yeah, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all.
Sometimes you do need a little more patience, but not about my kids.
Yeah, she don't play by her. Like I said, we go to school and say, Nick, do not cuss the principal out. Don't cuss this person out.
First of all, it's
too late for that.
It's too late for that, because I wouldn't even be up here if it wasn't for some nonsense. Right. See, now I didn't have to come down.
She's not going to curse you. She wouldn't curse you out, but she will curse you out. Yeah. But we didn't. She wasn't. Don't get me. She ain't cussing folks out. It wasn't ghetto. I'm
gonna curse you out intelligently.
Intelligently.
Yeah. But I'm going.
You gonna get the message.
I am.
Yeah, you get the message.
But yeah, don't try to play.
So I shouldn't say cuss folks.
And that's the thing about it. And so I will say that, and I'm gonna keep it, transparent. I mean, we all live in this world in America. We know what it is. And, going to better schools, unfortunately, they are in predominantly white areas. Mm-hmm. So we had to navigate those spaces, and they try to play in my face. Because, I mean, I would be the primary person going up there, but then some crack off, and now it's me, James. Oh, they're like, she got a husband. They always thinking we some single mamas up in here.
Yeah, and then all three of us.
Then we all three, they're like,
they're confused. Like, now what's really going on?
Because we not squabbling. So we all up there as a united front, all talking about what's going on with X, Y, and Z, right? And that would throw them off. And so, I definitely had to go in there and flex my intelligence. Definitely never going in there ignorant, because that would just give them what they wanted, right? Absolutely. So when she say curse out, she's talking about going off, but very, very intelligently. Because let me be clear, sir, ma'am, I am an intelligent, college-educated Black woman. Yes, I got a husband. No, I'm not on welfare.
Yeah, I had to tell
all of the things. Like,
counselor.
don't come to me talking crazy, because they used to try to.
That's right. That one counselor tried. I said, you're not the only one with initials behind your name.
Facts. A boom. Yeah. So sometimes you gotta what they say. What can you say? Pop out to show them, because they'll try you. But but yeah, we definitely. I didn't play about my kids, and sometimes trying to put your kids in a better space. Um, sometimes you'll be in spaces that you have to navigate certain situations.
Yes.
Um,
And again, that's why it's great when all the parents, all those involved have a good relationship.
absolutely.
Because say if they were out of town, I could go up to the school and then I can have the conversation, and that's a good thing again about us having that relationship. Or if one person just could not get off of work, say, well, I can get off, I'll go up there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, this is funny though, I'm thinking, how they would get calls like if they miss going to class or something, we get the little voicemail or their phone call.
All of us get
and they
that
didn't
call.
know that. We all got the call. All three of us got the call.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Mama Yanni, I didn't know you knew. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling like, hey, what happened? You 9 o'clock, you should have been at blah, blah, blah. Where were you?
Right.
Yeah. That tripped them out.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic, but you gotta stay a united front. That's a whole another topic, but yeah, you gotta be on one accord.
Don't allow your kids to put you against each other, because Isaiah tried it.
Right.
You got checked real quick.
Right. And that kind of talks about miscommunication.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be on the same page with things. You have to make sure of that, because kids are smarter than we give them credit for, right? And they will put you against each other. They will definitely try to go around the back door. Like even with Jay used to try to go around and put and get stuff, because like we said, different parenting styles. I'm more stern, and I'm more do. And Elle is, again, not a pushover, not just gonna let them do anything, but a little more lenient. I'm in my soft girl era now, but I was a little more do, and especially with having boys, I was just like, I can't be a pushover. I have to be on.
So Jay would call me and ask me crazy stuff, and I'm like, hell no, you can't. I said, your mama not going for that. We think the same way. So he would try it, and she wouldn't be out of town. He gonna call me because he's like, I know my mama ain't gonna say something. Let me call Mama Yanni.
Right.
No.
But he, in his youth, didn't understand that just because we have different parenting styles, that doesn't mean we weren't going to be on the same page.
Absolutely.
And he would just think, because Mama Yanni be nicer or sweeter about this or that, she'll probably let me do da 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 da. Absolutely not.
No. But that's the comfort with our kids. It's like, I got two mamas. Mm-hmm. They on the same level. We would be somewhere and they say mama, and we both go, what?
Right.
And people look like,
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes they talked about both of us about what they want. But yeah, it's good that they were comfortable enough, and he was comfortable enough. He said, well, I'm going to bypass mama and I'm going to go to Mama Yanni, because I know Mama Yanni may let me do da-da-da-da-da. Right. And it could be like, hey, can I go to my friend's house after school for this or that? So whatever. Can I order pizza? No, you ain't order no pizza.
Whatever.
You got the money? Little things.
But that's just, just again speaks to the way you loved my kids and just how everything was. And
he's still in my pocket, by the way.
They all are sometimes. But just the love and the support that they had, that they could, go to any of us. But yeah, you gotta, and again, I know some, again, depending on the relationship, may not be at this place now, but when you get to that place, you just got to make sure the communication has to be clear, because you have to set solid boundaries and guidelines, for your kids, and just let them know that, we standing on yes together and we standing on no together, right? And making sure that you all are on a united front.
And some of those conversations might not be easy. They may sting a little bit. But I think the one thing that will help, if you just keep in mind, it's all about the kids.
It's all about the kids. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode today. We have some more points and topics that we want to get into, dealing with, tensions and challenges because again, it is a lot. So on our next episode, like I said, it's going to be a part 2 to this episode. We're going to talk about protectiveness over your child, um, stepmothers, respecting the biological mom's role while also carving out your own space, avoiding negative talk, and just recognizing the harm of competing for your child's loyalty or attention from the other parent. So yeah, it's a lot. Uh, we want to dive into, but again, we don't want to shortcut any of that. So, like I said at the beginning, if this probably was going to be a 2-part because we wanted to make, in every episode, we want to make sure that we're being honest, transparent, and just giving you everything that, that we got and that we've learned over these years, not only from, us living this experience, but from, like I said, friends, families, others, as they walk their walk and journey and tips and that we've received. So, yeah, we're just hoping that we can give some of that, to you guys and you all can help take this and help it, take this and hopefully it helps to navigate, helps navigate your journey and makes it just a little bit easier. So.
Right. And with that being said, I'd like to invite you all, if you have been in a situation like this, shoot us something in an email. Maybe we would like to invite you on the show and get your perspective of what you've experienced. So our email, you can send it to info@theuncoupled.com, or you can send it to therealuncoupled.com at Gmail.
Gotcha. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us at the Uncoupled Couple on everything except TikTok. On TikTok, we are the Real Uncoupled Couple. But Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, everything, we are the Uncoupled Couple. On TikTok, we are the Real Uncoupled Couple. All righty. Till next time. Peace out, you guys.